With Avengers Infinity War set to bring together story arcs from almost 20 Marvel movies over the past decade, there's no denying the sheer force and influence of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But it wasn't always smooth sailing. Marvel's first misstep was Iron Man 2, which lacked the finesse fans would eventually come to expect. Here's how one of the franchise's least liked movies almost derailed the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Weak and clunky. One of the most scattered and unfocused films in the MCU, Iron Man is essentially two movies crammed into one. We begin with Tony Stark coming to grips with not just his newfound superhero status, but the fact that the arc reactor in his chest is slowly poisoning him. But wait! There's an old diorama made by Tony's father Howard that holds the key to a new element that just so happens to be the exact material Tony needs to save his life. And it just gets sillier from there.
It tastes like coconut. Metal.
Between scattered action set pieces and bizarre side stories, there are also the Easter eggs. The early days of the MCU saw the studio dropping in nods and references that didn't feel completely organic to the stories the films were telling. One of the biggest rotten eggs is a prototype Captain America shield that's laying around in Stark's workspace, which just feels like an unnecessary Marvel geek out. Too much, too fast. Tasked with following up the surprising success of Iron Man, the deck was arguably stacked against Iron Man 2. This sequel was also the last chance of the MCU to lay some groundwork for the Avengers. Black Widow, Nick Fury, and Agent Coulson were written into supporting roles to establish the parts that eventually play in the Avengers.
I got my eye on you.
With Iron Man dealing with a personal crisis and a bad guy, it felt forced to see Nick Fury waving from the sidelines, trying to shoehorn in the fact that there's a bigger world out there when we haven't even met half of the Avengers yet. It was a classic example of show, don't tell, and Iron Man 2 did a lot of telling.
Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to exit the donut.
Plans changed. Though he's since been replaced by Taika Waititi, Joss Whedon, and Shane Black, director Jon Favreau helped to lay the groundwork for the MCU fans know and love today. As the director of Iron Man, he used his passion and talent to establish a tone that would carry on through more than a dozen subsequent movies. Favreau also had his own ideas mapped out for an Iron Man trilogy, planned to explore the Demon in a Bottle storyline from the comics, which focused on Stark's alcoholism. However, Marvel wanted a more family-friendly approach.
There's the door.
It seems Favreau may have had more storytelling freedom in the early days, back before Marvel realized Iron Man was their golden goose. Marvel's villain problem. Almost every Marvel movie has a problem when it comes to their bad guys. Marvel puts great thought into its heroes, but their evil foils often leave much to be desired. Looking back, we can trace the origin of the MCU's villain problems to Iron Man 2. Mickey Rourke is one heck of a talented actor, a fact that made his one-note performance as Ivan Vanko, a gruff Russian thug, all the more frustrating.
Слишком много говоришь.
I don't know if you know this, but I don't speak Russian!
Rourke says he wanted to add other layers and color, not just make this Russian a complete murderous, revenging bad guy. According to him though, a good chunk of his performance wound up on the cutting room floor. Considering how much Marvel was trying to cram into this movie, it's not a surprise that Vanko's story was cut short, but it still makes you wonder what could have been. There was also Vanko's partner, Justin Hammer. In the comics, Hammer was a legitimate corporate rival to Tony Stark. In Iron Man 2, he's little more than a punchline, leading to an awkward pairing of slapstick and menace that was one of the weakest aspects of an already weak film. Instead of one quality villain, Iron Man 2 gave us two subpar ones.
Oh, they're 125.7 million a pop. So oh gosh.
The sequel trap. When it comes to making a sequel, most studios try to go bigger and badder, and Iron Man 2 fell into that same formula. It had more characters, more team-ups, bigger set pieces, and wackier villains. Put simply, Iron Man 2 tried to go too big, too fast. Following the film's release, Robert Downey Jr. admitted that they may have tried too hard to make the film bigger rather than making it good. There's little doubt that this problem was exacerbated by all the heavy lifting to lay the groundwork for the Avengers. Iron Man 2 had the deck stacked against it from the start. Is it good? Marvel Studios is at the top of Hollywood these days, but back when Iron Man 2 arrived, it was still figuring out how to make all these big movies while keeping the quality level high. Iron Man 2 hasn't aged well either, as Collider notes, the film feels rushed, bloated, unsteady, and unfocused. It's a perfect example of everything not to do. It still made a ton of money at the box office, but there's no doubt some fans were turned off by its convoluted plot, zany bad guys, and excessive foundation laying. Marvel learned a lot from this movie, and these lessons likely helped Marvel make the Avengers such a crowd pleaser. But we all had to watch this dud to get there. Thanks for watching. Click the looper icon to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, check out all this cool stuff we know you'll love too.